You look like Mr. Pitts. You see it?
It's burning, and I think I'm going to try to go over there and try to, not shoot the apartment itself, but the one surrounding it, and see if I can get people out of there.
After a mom was found with several stab wounds, a baby also died.
I'm glad I was able to be there, but it's just really hard. I feel really bad for the baby and the mom.
A tragedy that struck right before Thanksgiving.
This is a horrific incident. We are literally 2 days out from a holiday that centers around family, and this is what we're here dealing with this morning.
Janet Jones saw the fire from her apartment just a few buildings over.
It is tragic.
She saw the victims' loved ones arrive at the scene this morning, many of them understandably overwhelmed. Janet says she is heartbroken for them today.
I'll never have another good Thanksgiving or Christmas with the family. It'll be ruined forever.
"30-year-old Denisha Moore, affectionately known as Nikki to family and friends, was a loving, caring, and loyal woman who, according to friends and family, had a heart of gold and a beautiful smile to match. Most importantly, she was a mother to 3 beautiful children, 1 girl and 2 boys. Like most families, Denisha was looking forward to the Thanksgiving holiday and spending quality time with family and friends. Never could anyone have imagined the horrifying chain of events that would soon take place. Shortly before midnight on November 21st, Daytona Beach police responded to the Countryside Apartments on 1200 Belleville Road to apartment 39. Upon arrival at the scene, police would find the apartment fully engulfed with flames and large plumes of black smoke coming from the resident's windows and the door. After extinguishing the blaze, they would find an unresponsive adult female, an unresponsive infant inside of a crib next to the woman, and a 4- and 5-year-old inside.
It was just a tragic day in Daytona Beach. A family is struggling to deal with the death of a mom and her baby after they were killed.
Yeah, just awful. This happened at the Countryside Apartments on Bevel Road. West 2's Volusia County reporter Pamela Combe joins us live now. And we just got a hold of the 911 calls from overnight. Pamela.
Yeah, we did. And, the callers were trying to do everything they could to get people out of that apartment complex, out of that building. They were frantically going door to door, trying to get people out. One of them even pulled out a fire extinguisher to try and put out the fire himself.
At around midnight, the calls started coming in. Neighbors saying a unit at the Countryside apartment complex was on fire.
It's burning, and I think I'm going to try to go over there and try to, not shoot the apartment itself, but the one surrounding it, and see if I can get people out of there.
Some were knocking on doors, doing what they could to help.
If anybody's home, please come out. There's a fire. If anybody's home, please come out. There's a fire.
Samantha Stewart witnessed someone trying to put out the fire.
Even the neighbor got a fire extinguisher and started putting it in the window and started doing that, so it helped contain the fire just a little bit.
But the extinguisher was no match for the flames. There were 4 people inside the unit at the time. Police say it's currently being investigated as a murder. Daytona Beach Fire says nearby residents were evacuated as some surrounding units had smoke damage. The home where the fire happened was totaled.
The victim was identified as 30-year-old Denisha Moore, who was sadly pronounced dead at the scene after succumbing to multiple stab wounds. Her 10-month-old was taken to Halifax Health Medical Center of Daytona Beach, while her 2 children were taken to Shands Hospital in Gainesville in critical condition. Denisha's 1-month-old was sadly passed away after going into cardiac arrest, while her 4- and 5-year-olds survived the horrific ordeal, but remain in critical condition. A police officer was also treated for smoke inhalation. Authorities immediately began investigating the fire as a homicide, believing the fire was intentionally set while Denisha's 3 children were left to die. According to the report, there were at least 2 fires inside the apartment. The first fire is believed to have been set in the bedroom. The second was in the kitchen, where all 4 of the burners on the stoves were reportedly on, as well as burnt paper debris in a box. Detectives initially tried to contact the father of 2 of Denisha's oldest children, 34-year-old Charles Leon Ivy, to let him know 2 of his children were at the hospital, but those attempts were unsuccessful. Hours later, detectives witnessed Ivy loading suitcases and bags into an SUV at his home in Ormond Beach. He was pulled over near Tomoka Avenue and South Yon Street. He reportedly declined to be transported to the police department or speak with detectives. Daytona police said evidence puts Ivy at the apartment during the time the alleged deaths and fires could have occurred, which gave them probable cause to arrest him. Ivy, who eventually talked to police, said he was unable to think of anyone who would want to hurt Denisha or her children. Denisha's family was horrified. Just 2 days prior, they were happily planning and looking forward to celebrating Thanksgiving. Now they are planning 2 funerals. Absolutely horrific. Daytona Beach Police Chief Jakari Young said this is the most horrendous and horrific crime he's ever experienced in his career, extending his heartfelt condolences to the family of the victims. Neighbors who witnessed the chain of events as they unfolded were left overwhelmed with emotions, still unable to process the reality of it all. Denisha's family celebrated her life during Thanksgiving Day by holding a vigil, remembering the good times they shared. They continue to pray for her 2 children who remain hospitalized. According to Denisha's aunt, the Florida Department of Children and Families will not allow the family near her children, another blow to an already tragic situation.
New details tonight about this man, Charles Ivy. Daytona Beach police say he fatally stabbed the mother of his children and then set her apartment on fire with 3 kids inside.
Yeah, the mother's 10-month-old died in the blaze. The other 2 kids are in the hospital, and we learned today that he's actually the father of those kids. Fox 35's Connor Hansen spoke with cousins of the mother today, and he joins us right now in studio. So, Connor, they have to be in shock over this whole thing.
That's right, John. And family members told me today they say Denja Moore was planning to come over to their house for Thanksgiving tomorrow. They say they still can't comprehend how something so horrible could happen to such a good person.
Everybody is still shocked and in disbelief. We was just on the phone, like talking about preparing for the tomorrow.
Denja Moore's cousins, Tanisha and Princess, say they all grew up like sisters. They describe Moore as kind, with a great sense of humor, and someone who would do anything for her kids.
Nice, caring.
Police say Moore was killed by the father of 2 of her children, Charles Ivy. Daytona Beach Police Chief Jakari Young not holding back after describing the horrific details, alleging Ivy stabbed her to death, then set her apartment on fire. Her 3 kids were inside. Her 10-month-old did not make it, and a 4- and 5-year-old are in the hospital.
The defendant in this incident deserves a special place in the gates of hell for what he did to this mother and these children.
Denja Moore's cousins say they didn't know Ivy at all, just that she dropped the kids off with him on weekends. They're relieved that he's in jail and are thanking all the first responders who helped.
This is the mother of your kids. You're the reason she's down here. It's just, just crazy. You can't even describe, how we felt when we heard the details of, what happened.
Thanksgiving for the Moores different this year.
It's supposed to be about family today, but today it's about family, but it's a sad family, a sad inherited family.
Denisha Moore, known as Nikki, and son Messiah, killed Tuesday.
I can't understand this. Why this happened?
Moore's Daytona Beach apartment set on fire. Crews arriving to find the 30-year-old's body with multiple stab wounds. Baby Messiah was pronounced dead at an area hospital, per police.
He was 10 months old. Didn't even get to make it to his first birthday because of this monster.
34-year-old Charles Ivy now charged in their murders. He and Moore's 2 children, a 4- and 5-year-old, also found inside the burning apartment. They are now at Shands Hospital in Gainesville.
It was intubated, and they were supposed to be waking them up today.
Amelia Moore telling us the Florida Department of Children and Families won't let them near the toddlers, and they don't know why.
We don't know what they saw, we don't know what they heard, and they're going to be screaming for their mother.
The family's gathering somber this year, but not without thanks. They're grateful for the first responders who risked their lives to save Moore's toddlers, Dove and Dakota.
We want to make sure they never forget their mother and know that she loved them.
34-year-old Charles Leon Ivy was booked into the Volusia County Corrections on 2 counts of first-degree murder, 2 counts of attempted felony murder, and arson. A motive for the crime is still unknown, and Denisha's 2 children remain in critical condition. The case remains ongoing.
Good morning, everybody. So yesterday I shared with you the preliminary details in reference to the structure fire that developed into the double murder of a 30-year-old mother and her 10-month-old child, and the attempted murder of 2 of her other children, ages 4 and 5. So this morning, I'm going to share with you more of the details surrounding this tragedy, as this is the most horrendous and horrific crime that I've experienced throughout my entire career. I want to start with my victims. So first and foremost, I want to extend my heartfelt condolences to the family of the victims. My victim is a Denisha Moore, 30-year-old mother who was found deceased inside of that apartment, who suffered numerous stab wounds. Also, her 10-month-old son, who was transported to Halifax Hospital, who also later passed away as a result of his injuries. And then the 5-year-old and the 4-year-old were transported over to Shands Hospital in Gainesville, where they remain at this time. And I believe they're still intubated at this time. My defendant in this is a Charles Leon Ivy. Here's his mugshot. He is 34 years old, and he is the father of at least 2 of those children. We know for a fact he's the father of the 4-year-old and the 5-year-old. So this is most definitely domestic in nature. The defendant has been charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, 2 counts of attempted murder, first-degree arson. His criminal history is fairly minimal. Prior to this incident, he had some traffic violations, some possession of marijuana. There was a domestic incident back in 2016 on one of his former girlfriends, and in 2020, he was named as a suspect in a child abuse case involving one of the children. But that incident occurred outside of my jurisdiction, and I believe that case was no-filed. But with what we witnessed throughout this investigation, the defendant in this incident deserves a special place in the gates of hell for what he did to this mother and these children. Again, I have never witnessed anything this horrific in my entire career. So, the defendant did not confess to what he did, but what he did was he placed himself on scene. He put himself on scene around the time that these murders would have occurred. Through technology, we were able to track his vehicle via traffic cameras leaving the area after this incident would have occurred. And he was also in possession, admittedly, of the victim's cell phone. So we're still doing some legwork as far as the investigation goes, but the evidence is clear. The evidence speaks for itself regarding this defendant. I can't thank my investigators enough. Well, first I want to start with the responding officers. These brave officers, as well as the firefighters, if it were not for their actions, it's possible that the 4- and the 5-year-old would have also passed away. But their swift action saved the lives of the 4- and the 5-year-old because they didn't hesitate. They came on scene, they made entry, and they assisted in getting those children out. So I'm grateful to both my responding officers as well as the firefighters and all the medical staff that responded to that scene. I'm also grateful for my investigators, because these investigators did not stop working on this from the time they responded to the scene. I know that's their job, but most people are out getting ready for the Thanksgiving holiday. They didn't get that opportunity because they were running down leads in reference to this investigation. My team is the best in the business. I firmly believe that. These investigators are top-notch and second to none. And I'm very proud to be their police chief. I also want to thank the state attorney's office. because without them, we would not have been able to get the arrest warrants. So, yeah, I'm sure there are going to be questions in reference to some of the evidence, but I'm telling you now, the evidence speaks for itself, and it was so much so that they were very comfortable giving us multiple search warrants and arrest warrants for the defendant. So I'm also grateful to the state attorney's office, and then I'm grateful to the Ormond Beach Police Department, because in the follow-up, this spilled over into their jurisdiction. So we had to do a lot up in Ormond Beach, and they were great hosts to us, and they also did a lot to assist in the investigation. So I'm very, very grateful to them as well. At this time, I'm going to take just a few questions.
I know he didn't say that he did it, but do you know anything about a motive at this point?
I can only tell you that it's domestic in nature, and we're hoping that as the investigators continue to close up some loose ends, that we can get more of a clear motive, but right now the motive is not clear. It's still not clear. We may never get a clear motive to this, but again, this is the most heinous and horrific that I have seen.
Chief, you mentioned the mother getting stabbed and the children getting injured, but were they also stabbed by the man?
The 4- and the 5-year-old suffered no stab wounds, only the mother.
Okay, so basically their injuries were either smoke inhalation?
Yes, their injuries were as a result of being left to die in a fully engulfed fire.
Okay, where was the guy caught?
He was caught at his residence, leaving his residence. There was a traffic stop that was conducted, and he was caught. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I also wanted to thank the criminal apprehension team, because they were instrumental in the takedown of the defendant.
You mentioned Ormond Beach. Was that where he was caught?
Yes, that he resides in Ormond Beach, and he was caught leaving his residence. That's where the traffic stop was conducted.
The woman that was with them driving the car he was in, she going to be charged with anything?
Nope.
She was third party maybe in this?
Yeah, she doesn't face any charges at this time. She cooperated with our investigation, and she's currently not facing any charges.
And just to clarify, you said the 4- and the 5-year-old didn't have any stab wounds. The mom did. What about the 10-month-old?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Chief, do the victims have any other family locally?
They do have family. I'm not sure if they're local.
How are they reacting to this?
Say it one more time.
How are they reacting?
The victims?
The family of the victims.
They're obviously very distraught. They're very upset.
Chief, I know you said that the suspect was the father of the 4- and the 5-year-old. Did he have custody of those two children as well, or did she have full
I believe the mother had custody of the children.
Was this completely premeditated? Did he go there with a gas can? I mean, was this all, what did you determine from that, or do you know?
That part is still unclear, but like I said, the investigation is ongoing, and I also wanted to thank the fire marshal as well.